Hello, welcome to the podcast of Startup Recruitment Failures. I'm Indra, founder and CEO of JobRely. We're building artificial intelligence for outbound recruitment. And today my guest is Ross Jardine, founder and CEO at Architus. Ross, could you please introduce yourself and your company?
Hi, Indra. Yes, thank you for having me today. Very nice to be here. Architus, we are providing opportunities for technology and data science professionals to work with some of the more interesting companies in the UK and also other countries, including the US. We specialize mainly in fintech and financial services. And we have been working in the UK since around 2015 and then expanded to Lithuania about 2 years ago.
Great. Thank you so much for your time and participating on this podcast. And okay, could you please share with your recruitment failures and what you learned out of them?
Yeah, well, I guess as many people who moved into the startup world from the corporate world, and I really believe that as anyone who starts or is leading a startup has to inevitably get involved really hands on in the recruitment process.
Yeah.
They also have to make some big adjustments from what they were probably used to in the corporate world. For me, I was doing a lot of recruitment in the past for the bigger banks, investment banks, investment managers in London.
Mm-hmm.
And that typically was a case of a big emphasis on screening and testing candidates who most of the time were extremely keen to come and work for that company. And very, very rarely would they turn down a job offer.
Mm-hmm.
So really, the assumption was that everyone wanted the job and would most likely take the job. And so it was very much about how could we test the candidates, put them under pressure, and try and find the ones who were the strongest within particular areas and skills.
Mm-hmm. And how is it different now in startup world?
Well, yeah, and then then the startup world and recruiting in Lithuania, but I think it's the same for any country, really.
Mm-hmm.
You are fiercely competing for talent in the startup world, and the process has to be two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you still need to do an element of screening and testing of candidates to ensure that they have the right skills and the right character for the position you're recruiting for, the position you're trying to fill. So you still need to do that, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also very much about selling the opportunity. And I think you have to provide an insight to candidates into what it's like to work for your company and why they should be interested in working for your company and not someone else. Including, and you're competing not only with other startups but with other corporates in that process. And I think there's kind of three things that you need to focus on when you are selling the opportunity to candidates.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing that they're really interested in, and this is really my learning experience from in 2022, I probably interviewed somewhere between 100 and 200
Right.
candidates for our company.
That's a lot.
So it was a lot. Yeah, it's probably the most people I've ever interviewed in a year in my professional career. So this was kind of my reflection on last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are three things that you need to focus on. I think the first is, and this is very certainly very relevant for technology professionals, but probably others as well. The first thing is the projects and the initiatives that they're going to work on.
Mm-hmm.
What the actual day-to-day work, what is it they're going to be doing, and why is that interesting for them in the context of the overall company, in the context of the market, and a little bit more detail about the actual project they're going to be doing. I think the second thing is their career and the growth opportunities and the career path that they can take with you. How are you going to help them to achieve their particular goals and aspirations?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is compensation. I think that is really important aspect of the conversation, but also learning and development, how you can help people at a certain stage in their career to progress to the next stage in their career.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the third thing is is the culture. And this is something that I certainly placed a stronger and stronger emphasis on, not only in the career recruitment process, but also our company in general, so we could kind of walk the walk and not just talk the talk. I couldn't be selling this to people and then they turn up and it wasn't there. So I think more and more as a differentiator, technology professionals are looking to see, why is this company a great place to work? Why am I going to get up in the morning and think, yeah, I'm going to have a smile on my face and looking forward to my day? Why is it going to be a good match for my particular character, the way that I enjoy working? And you really have to. It's really important to kind of paint the picture for someone, to explain to them, this is what it's like to work with us. Forget about day-to-day tasks, forget about your career growth for a moment, but just what is it like to turn up? What is it like to work as part of our team? And why should you think that we would be a great place to work as compared to other companies? So I think that when we started out last year, we very much had the emphasis on the kind of the screening and the testing.
Yeah,
and we found,
expecting that there will be a huge line of candidates waiting to be interviewed.
Exactly. And I'm completely honest, we found some great people initially, and a few people said, well, no, thank you, but no. And I said, what's going on? Why are the people saying no? This is such a, in my mind, it was an amazing opportunity we were offering. And why are people saying no? So we had to kind of stop and reflect and then be really honest with ourselves that actually why they were saying no is because we were doing a terrible job of actually selling them the opportunity.
Exactly.
We'd done the testing and said, okay, we think you're good enough. And they'd kind of said, well, thanks, but why should I come and work for you? Because we hadn't answered that question for them. So we made some changes to our recruitment process, and we really put a much better balance on it, and a much stronger emphasis on the selling of the opportunity and painting the picture for them of why we believe we're a great place to work and why we believe it is a great opportunity, whilst also really important that that's honest, and that if people do say yes, they turn up and the picture you've painted is the reality. That's pretty important as well. So we did a lot of work as well on our company culture and creating an environment we really believed was a great place to work and is a great place to work. And when we did that, we really noticed the difference that yes, we were still doing some effective screening and testing to find the right candidates, but the conversion rate of the people that we wanted to hire actually accepting offers started to go up.
Yeah, so this is the thing. I think it started in 2011 that recruitment started changing, right? Previously, it was very normal to post a job ad to get enough candidates interested, and you just focus on interviewing and assessing and selecting. And now it's getting more and more complicated. You have to do the outbound recruitment, right? So you're doing sales, basically. You're selling the company, you're selling the opportunity for people. And this means that you really have to start thinking about your target market, right? Who are these people that could be interested in our company and our project? So I'm very happy because we are helping, Jobrely is helping your company to hire people. And this took a little bit of time in the very beginning, but now I think when it's more crystallized, we're getting way better results because then we are targeting the right people. And we're not just saying like other companies, well, we're looking for a developer. We found your profile. It got our interest. Your profile is interested. Would you like to talk? No, it's not working anymore. You have to say what you are offering, right?
That's right. And, Jobrely has been, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, Indra, but, it was honestly been a key partner, one of the most important partners for us in the success we've had, in 2022.
Thank you so much.
And you're right. What you did was, I think, first of all, your team, helped us to kind of improve some of the messaging that initial messaging to candidates, and then also actually sourcing some fantastic people for us, and that helped us to find some really great talent. But when we started to hire people, and obviously now we talk to our employees as well, and technology professionals get bombarded with messages for potential jobs, and so you have to really work on your messaging and your brand to stand out from the crowd.
And would you agree that if you are just a startup who just been founded and you just started recruitment, so most probably you don't have a very good company branding yet. So what is really important is the person who from these candidates are being contacted, right? So to use hiring managers, in this case, your LinkedIn account, and to show your experience so people could see that maybe together with you, they could achieve something and learn a lot and work on very interesting projects because already of your background.
Yeah, and that's been my advice to people who are starting a business and having to hire in significant volumes of people, not just one or two, but 10, 20, 30. I would say be very careful about going back to the corporate world. If people have come from the corporate world, I would have handed that to HR or recruitment partner, and then kind of waited for them to send me some CVs and maybe do the final interviews or something like that. Oh no, I'm afraid, I'm very sorry. I have a difficult message to give you, those people who are listening, which is, unfortunately, there's no easy way, right? If you started a business, you have to do it yourself. You have to roll your sleeves up, get involved, and actually be the face of the company. That's not just interviewing, but that's looking at profiles, getting to understand the type of the profile you're searching for, answering messages, communicating, interacting with candidates, and then doing the interviews. And coming back to you saying 100 to 200 interviews last year, well, I think that was essential because I make a point of interviewing people for the first interview, and actually say this is why, this is what we're doing, and this is why I'd like you to come and work for my company. And I think that actually really has made a difference.
And I think what is also very important is why you should do all these interviews yourself is to better understand the market situation, right? To see what kind of people are getting interested, because you cannot create a role and then, to find the perfect candidate without comparing what is in the market. So when you do that, you can really better understand the situation and then evaluate, who would be most suitable for your company.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. You have to get to know the market. You have to get to know the profile and the characteristics of the individuals you're looking to hire for particular roles, and know those really, really well. Because if you don't know them, you can't brief others about that, and you can't select the right people to hire. But also what it's done for me is that experience has given me a much better insight into how the company needs to evolve to be that great place to work, to stand out from the crowd, to be differentiated. And so it's also been the experience of the recruitment side has also been a strong influence on how we are now building the company and creating that place, the right culture and the right working environment that we can put hand on heart. I can put my hand on heart and sell it, knowing that when they turn up on the first day of work, it's going to be like that.
Oh yeah, this is one of the most important things. And when it comes to the interviewing and selecting, right, when you manage to attract talents to get interested into your company, how is it different in comparison to corporate life and corporate interviewing processes? Are you still spending a lot of time on selection, or it's just one interview and that's it? How do you organize that in your startup?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that the interview, if you mean the actual interview process itself, I think the interview process is kind of similar in terms of the stages and the duration. I think you have to, what we found is you can't have too many stages. You can't have too lengthy interviews and, asking to do hours and hours of homework and all this kind of stuff. If you do that, some people still do that, but you can risk losing candidates if you make it too onerous. So I think the stages, 2-3 stages, and you aim for the candidate to meet a selection of people, including people they would work with. Similar to, in many ways, to the corporate world. But I think the difference I've found is, especially in financial services and banking, in somewhere like London, where you're getting high volumes of applicants, and it's really it's just about putting some quite difficult tests in place, and also creating quite pressurized environments where it's not particularly friendly. I'm telling you, turning up to interviews to some of these banks in London, you won't get many smiles. Some of them, you walk in and it's just firing questions and doing tests, and they just want to see how you react to pressure. And then, if you don't like it, well, fine, they'll find someone else. And it's definitely, we found it. I mean, that's one of the reasons I left the corporate world, to be honest, because I think it's using that technique. You can find people with the right skills and experience, but I really believe that coming back to creating that right working environment, it's really important that you find people with the right character and the right personalities that are going to blend into teams. And you can only do that by having a conversation with people, just a normal conversation, and getting to know someone as best you can. And also, giving them some information about you. A half an hour interview or an hour interview with a software engineer is pretty valuable. That's a massive opportunity, because they've got so much choice, and you need to make the most of that opportunity and give them this kind of insight. As you say, I see it as a kind of insight into, or trying to draw a picture for them as in terms of what would it be like to work at our company.
I also believe in that. I'm a fan of open and friendly atmosphere, because in this kind of the atmosphere, people can open up and to really show who they are, what they want, and then you can evaluate and to see whether there is a match or not. If you pressure someone, the person is just closing, right? So what kind of the information you can get then? Yeah, it's very interesting.
Exactly.
And I'm very glad that it's really changing in startup world. And how are you checking? Because what is again very important in startup environment is the atmosphere in the team, how everyone is feeling and working together. And motivation, I believe, is one of the aspects, right? If the person is not motivated, so the feeling is not as good as it could be. How do you evaluate that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's essential for me. That is like the secret ingredients of the difference between a good team and a great team, and that kind of happiness and motivation. I think personally, I mean, there's lots of new kind of workplace health software out there where people can kind of virtually check in and tell you their mood and all this kind of stuff, right? Personally, I think the only way really to do that is to actually interact with your employees. I make a point of meeting with my employees, with what I call them my colleagues, and talking to them and spending time with them, and giving them also an opportunity to speak about any concerns or worries they have, knowing that they will be, dealt with, and knowing that, you create sort of an element of trust with them. So I think that's so important. And that's my absolute priority for, my company, is making sure my colleagues are happy and motivated. And if there are even tiny things that are potentially preventing that, then resolving those issues is key.
Okay. And when it comes to in the selection process, checking candidates' motivation, do you have any particular questions you are trying to assess that? How do you see whether whether the candidate really understands that where they are going, what kind of the company they're choosing, and whether the projects you can offer could motivate them?
Yeah, so I mean, what we do is we do have a couple of different stages to our selection process. One of them is a technical assessment, and the technical assessment is designed to really focus on specific technical skills and how both the experience and how effective a particular candidate is in solving a problem or discussing a particular technical skill. So that's something that everyone does, and that's kind of a way of us of kind of benchmarking everyone from a technical perspective. Mm-hmm. The other bit that we do, which is more through a conversation, is just talking to them about kind of like the projects that we're working on and seeing how they react to that, asking them about their work experience, asking them about things like, what is their motivation to apply for the role and what is their ambition? How do they want their careers to progress? Because even simple questions like that can throw up kind of red flags. If people are just motivated to try and find, higher salaries, or exactly. If they are looking for a promotion very, very quickly, which might not be feasible. So I think it's important to explore not just the sort of the skills area, but also to talk to candidates about what they're interested in and what's their ideal role that's going to motivate them to move, and to ensure that that's something we can definitely offer them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. Do you see any difference between a corporation and a startup in terms of people motivation?
Yes, I think I do. I think you get, within the corporate world, you quite often get people who are not doing a job for the sake because they know they need a job, mm-hmm. and they not necessarily really excited and motivated about the role that they're doing, which sounds like a terrible thing, but there's quite a few of those people around, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think with the startup world, it's certainly normally kind of a more dynamic environment, certainly for technology professionals, where they can work on some really interesting initiatives, new technologies, not be kind of bogged down dealing with legacy platforms and kind of more mundane stuff, but from a tech perspective, some really, really interesting work that they feel is going to help their develop their particular skills and their career growth. I think that's certainly the case to start with. I think the challenge you have is maintaining that. And that, I don't think that necessarily changes a great deal wherever you work, corporate, startup, anywhere. I think that as a company, you really have to make a big effort on focusing on people's development, making sure that they're continually challenged at the right level, that they're happy with the path that they're taking, that they're not going too fast, they're not going too slow. That's a kind of an ongoing effort, which is, I think, the same anywhere you work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And so to summarize, what would be your key insight or advice you would like to give other hiring managers and recruiters who are attracting talent for their startup?
My advice is number one, doesn't matter how senior you are, get involved in the recruitment process at a really detailed level. Roll your sleeves up, get involved in how you search for candidates, how you mm-hmm. how you communicate with candidates, and how you actually the interview process, and do some interviews yourselves to get a much better feel for your candidate pool. And then secondly, place a big emphasis on selling your company and selling the opportunity, mm-hmm. as well as the screening and selection process. If you focus on how you can create some excitement and an interest from your candidates, that's actually also helping with your selection process, because if you paint the picture and they're not excited, then they're probably not the right candidate.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Ross, for your time and sharing all your experience and the insights, especially comparing, startup with corporate. And thank you to all the listeners. For more podcasts, please visit jobrelive.com.